We are joined by my brother, Matt Brown from Royal Oak, Michigan, who is a professor of speech and communications up in the greater Detroit area. And he's also a keen observer of all things pop culture and media. Matt, thanks for taking the time.
Yes.
All right, Uncle Matt, Barbenheimer, July 21st, the day that my son Sam had circled on his calendar for months. Two new releases, Barbie and Oppenheimer. Of course, Oppenheimer, a Christopher Nolan movie, key popular from the Batman series and Inception and all those big films.
He was the
Uh,
biggest name on the marquee. It was not Robert Downey Jr. It
right.
wasn't Matt Damon. It was Christopher Nolan. That's what
And
the
then
that's what they were selling.
and then Barbie the same day, a totally different kind of film, directed by what's the gal's name? Greta Gerwig,
Greta Gerwig.
who had done Little Women among some other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Produced by Margot Robbie. They went out and got Ryan Gosling. So both of these films, highly anticipated, a lot of buzz around both of them, set to release on the same day. Do you
Mm-hmm.
know anything about the history of that? Did either studio think about moving off from that? Did they see it as a good thing? Let's start there with kind of how they both came to be released on the exact same day.
There's no I'm not sure there's any official word on this. It's a lot of just right now. There's not the full story has not been published. So what I will be doing now is just guessing a little bit of guesswork.
Yeah.
But the fact is Oppenheimer was there first. Christopher Nolan has worked his entire career at Warner Brothers. Okay. After HBO Max started, basically after Warner Brothers started bringing their movies right to HBO Max,
Right.
Christopher Nolan freaked out. He's like, okay, so the future of theatrical distribution is over at Warner Brothers.
Mm-hmm.
I'm out. And he said HBO Max is the worst streaming service. And so after whatever it was, 20 years being probably the most successful auteur filmmaker, meaning, like I said, just his name alone will sell tickets. Yeah, they let him go because of their new strategy that went against the theatrical distribution. Obviously, this was during the pandemic, and so there was a lot of, the industry has just went through such an upheaval ever since the pandemic. And the theaters have been, I know I live here in Royal Oak, Michigan, and my local art house theater has closed. I know the theater downtown, Detroit Cinema, has closed. These were both independent movie theaters, and there's becoming less and less. So anyways, the theatrical industry is having a rough go of it. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So what happens? Mr. Nolan leaves Warner Brothers and he goes to Universal. And Universal is the studio that released Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Tarantino's film. They still sort of respect the auteur. They still respect the theater first. They don't have, Universal is the only company, right, that does not have a streaming service. There's no Universal streaming service. Okay. I mean, Peacock has some of their stuff, but they're still their goal is still theatrical releases. Okay. So they still believe in it. That's why Nolan went there. And so Nolan puts out Oppenheimer, which, that's the day. It's going to be July 21st. And then what happens? Warner Brothers, his old friend, his old company that he's been with for 20 years, says, your first movie you're going to put out against us, we're releasing Barbie on the same day. Okay. Now, people took that as a shot to Nolan. In fact, to the point where Christopher Nolan will not even talk about Barbie. He seems annoyed by it. He doesn't discuss it. He's not excited about this Barbenheimer event. However, as we know now, right? And I'm sure this is your next question. This was the best idea ever. And what instantly happened was there's a huge group of people online who just live and breathe Christopher Nolan day and night. They all said, we're going to Oppenheimer. And then, of course, guess who else? there's a gigantic contingent of people who are excited about this Barbie film, mostly because of Greta Gerwig signing on and Noah Baumbach as a co-screenwriter. People were just very excited about this film as well, and obviously, Barbie's been. How long has Barbie been around? Since 1950. This is a huge IP. And anyways, what happened was both sides started making memes, and I'm sure your students know the rest of the story of all the memes. Although maybe they've never seen a Barbenheimer meme because I might be on a different. They might be just scrolling anime.
So it seems counterintuitive because you'd think if you'd have two blockbusters that would release the same day, that would hurt each other. You'd have to pick one, or it would have a chilling effect on the other movie. This thing went the opposite direction. So if Warner Brothers intended this to hurt Oppenheimer, or to kind of stick it to Nolan or the studio Universal, it certainly didn't work out that way, right?
Absolutely not. This was This was the fourth biggest event in the history of cinema.
Fourth biggest event. Wow.
Well, here's the thing. People are considering it the biggest because nobody's ever released two movies like this, two gigantic blockbusters the same weekend. So because the riches have been sort of spread around, people are considering this to be the biggest weekend in the history of cinema for box office. But one of those Avengers ones, that made like $250 million opening weekend, I think is the winner of that. But anyways, it definitely helped. What happened was people made an event out of it. They like your son. They did double features, which is crazy, right? We did a double feature. Luckily, they weren't back to back, so we had time to move around a little bit. But anyways, it turned into an insanely exciting event. And what I think the most exciting thing is, it wasn't just a flash in the pan. It wasn't like, oh, they came out, everybody, because a lot of the times things will open big and then they'll just completely drop, right? And that's what's been happening with Indiana Jones, The Dial of Destiny, just completely collapsed after an okay opening. And Mission Impossible doing well overseas, but not great in the States.
So in this class, here's
my point, Andy.
Yeah.
Just real quick. So my point is, Barbie and Oppenheimer not dropping. Right. They are staying. They are making tons of dough. They're holding over and doing wonderful business. And I'm still seeing. I went to Talk to Me, the new horror film, last Friday, and I still saw tons of pink. Okay, everybody was still wearing pink. So this is a phenomenon that is going to continue, hopefully, throughout the rest of the summer. Go ahead.
Well, we're talking this semester about the way that media storytelling impacts culture and vice versa. Mm-hmm. And so here you had an event where people dressed up like Barbie, that wore the pink, that all came out on July 21st. And my family and your family, we got together. We went to both movies the same day. It was an event. It was like an event at the movie theater. So it was a time when media really did influence culture and inspire action of people going out and taking part. People love events. People love to feel like they're part of something cool. And I don't know. I think Top Gun Maverick was like that. Yeah. And this is probably the biggest thing since then in terms of an event at the movie theater.
Yeah, way bigger than Top Gun Maverick, just because of both. They both did so good. I mean, Barbie's going to break $1 billion in the next few weeks. It's just flying to $1 billion. This was a joke when Margot Robbie pitched it to Warner Brothers. She's like, I think we can make $1 billion. And then she was like, I don't know, maybe not. And now she's like, okay, yes, we can make $1 billion. It's going to happen. I think you're right. They made it an event, which was big. Also, let's be honest. We've been at the movies. We've been just hit with so many sequels. Right. So many of the same thing over and over again. The Marvel system is finally starting to crack. They are losing box office numbers now, and they are not as dominant as they were because we have just seen the same thing over and over again too many times. And these were two fresh films. You could say Barbie is as old as the day is young, and it's true. It is an old IP, but this was a fresh take on it. We'd never seen anything quite like this version of it. Definitely never seen. I mean, yes, it it's something to talk about. You had a lot to talk about after Barbie, right?
Mm-hmm.
There wasn't just like, oh, I saw this movie and I completely forgot it. That's how a
Right.
lot of these Marvel movies are. I can't
Right.
even tell you what happened. Where Barbie was touching on so many big, you talked about cultural issues. Barbie talks about a trillion, with feminism, about
Mm-hmm.
how, even just male agency. It doesn't just keep the males behind. It actually talks
Right.
about men and how they can have, they don't have to put their whole lives in women either. They need to also try to. So they had a lot of different messages going on. Oppenheimer, the same. Tons of discussion afterwards, right? People are actually talking about scientific history now on Twitter every day, debating. Was it right to drop this nuclear bomb? So, anyways, stuff that has just been out there for a long time, it suddenly feels fresh and new because these were exciting new voices who came in and brought new life into some old carcasses.
It'd be fun to be a fly on the wall in the boardrooms at all these big studios right now
Oh, they're
because
yes,
because Disney had a formula that was unimpeachable.
right.
Like they would just put out a new Marvel movie, they'd put out a
Yes,
Pixar film, they would crush.
guaranteed hit.
And they are on a 4 or 5 movie losing streak right now, and that's not a. I think it's enough in a row where it's not a fluke or an anomaly at this point. Like there's a downward trend for Disney, and like you said,
Absolutely.
all of these sequels. And as a studio head, it's comfortable, I would think, to put a sequel out and know it's going to be a big hit. You don't have to take any risks with something
Mhm.
different. Um, Now
Which
with
they love. They love not having to try,
That's
and they
what
can
I'm
just throw out
saying.
any
That's
garbage.
what I'm saying. So now they have to try. They might have to try to do something fresh and new. Even Haunted Mansion. I mean, okay,
Bombed.
I don't know if there's been a Haunted Mansion movie before, but
There has been.
that ride's been around since the dawn of time. It didn't capture the fresh imagination like Barbie did for some reason. So I guess my question, a long-winded way, is this good for cinema going forward or bad for the business? Because you can't just bank on a sequel like you used to be able to.
It's good for. I mean, anytime that studios have to try to do something original is good for the audience, right?
Right.
Even if they're striving and they fail for something original, I would rather see
Right.
something that is an exciting attempt, but rather than just the same old thing again. So, but of course, what did they say? What the big lesson that they learned was we're going to go in the business with Mattel, which is ridiculous, right? They've decided that they're going to, as you texted me the other day, they're going to make an Uno film, which how could you make an Uno film? I mean, maybe Hot Wheels is a little more exciting because they can do like a Fast and the Furious kind of
Are you
Hot
gonna go?
Wheels thing.
Are you gonna take your daughters to Barney the movie?
They're going to do Barney, which they're supposedly doing a humorous take on Barney that'll
Yeah,
be hip like Barbie was. And
that
then
might be kind
what
of
was the other
interesting. I
one?
don't know.
What's that?
That might be kind of interesting. I don't know.
It could be, but we've just seen, and this is the history of Hollywood, right? There's another trend that's been kind of quiet this year, which is all these films about making products. It's
Yeah.
like we've got Air, which is the Air Jordan film. We've got the Beanie
Right.
Baby movie that just came out. We got a Blackberry movie, which is supposed to be a masterpiece, which I cannot wait to watch. And then there was one more. Oh, there was the Cheeto one, the
Flaming Hot Cheetos.
Flamin' Hot Cheeto
Yeah.
film. So this is how Hollywood operates. They probably heard that Air was coming out, and then 4 other movies went into production. Okay, so yes, they are gonna try to their best to make this a model they can repeat over and over and over again. So to answer your question, they're probably gonna take the wrong lessons from this. So people just need to. I always say they need to talk with their dollars. Don't go to this garbage. Go to the fresh and original ideas that and maybe we'll get more of them. Right? That's the hope, but we'll see.
I think what Disney and some of the other studios are grappling with is the streaming model.
Yeah.
I'm sure there are those at Disney who say, well, yeah, sure, Element didn't do any good because people know in 2 or 3 months it'll be on Disney Plus, so why even
Right.
bother going to the theater? And
Absolutely.
so, some of this was born out of COVID and the fact that
Mm-hmm.
Netflix was so popular. I think Disney is not going to stop making Marvel movies, Matt. They've got 100 of them in the pipeline. So what do? Make the sequels better? get rid of Disney Plus, make it longer before they put them on Disney Plus? Like what is their move? Because Disney's going to have a move, but what are they going to do to kind of resuscitate their offerings?
So Disney just fired their CEO, and they brought in Bob Iger, who was the CEO before. I can't even remember the guy's name. That's how quick he got canned. But anyways, so this Bob Iger guy is a genius. He was basically the reason why their 2010s were so powerful. Acquiring Marvel, acquiring Star Wars. This all happened on Iger's watch. So what is he going to do? He's already said we don't have to have 3 sequels to Thor. Like, we don't have to have maybe one sequel, or so less sequels, maybe trying to mine the Marvel comics for new characters, I guess. But seems like they have Fantastic Four, which they might bring out, which might seem fresh, although it's flopped twice in other iterations, maybe 3 times. So I think that the Disney going forward, yes, I think that they need to make their films feel magical again, because they're turned them into just streaming fodder. And also, what's really hurt them is the TV shows for Marvel. I think that they are putting out TV shows that absolutely nobody are watching, including the one right now, which I can't even tell you the name of, with Samuel L. Jackson. I think it's called The Invaders or something.
Yeah, I don't know.
And so people are gonna, like, the regular Joe Schmo on the street is gonna be like, I don't want to go to the Marvel movies because I don't know what's going on anymore. I haven't watched the TV shows. Who's got time to watch 300 TV shows? So plus the Marvel movies. So I think what they're going to do is they're going to cut back on the TV, and they're going to try to make these big event Marvel films instead of just they need another Thanos, right? They need another. Go ahead.
I'm worried about that because I don't know how they built up the Infinity War series to this incredible climax with Robert Downey Jr. and the Iron Man character. I don't see them building up to something like that again with the characters that they have left. I could be wrong.
So it's going to be so hard to replicate, because we've been there before, right? And we don't care about these new characters.
Brie Larson is not going to. I like Brie Larson. Miss Marvel, or what are the Marvels, is coming out this fall.
Well, that's their next film, and
I don't know.
And I don't think there's any excitement behind that at all. They'll probably try to play the feminist angle, maybe connect it to Barbie in some way. I know it's got 3 female stars, but again, the Miss Marvel movie is connected to a Disney television series.
Right.
That, again, so if you walk in the movie, there's a character in there that you've never met before, that has already, so that could hurt the business. I think that, they're going to have to do something different, something exciting, something that's going to shake the internet, right? And what did Iger say when he came in office? What was the first thing he said? He announced Frozen 3. He announced Zootopia 2, and he announced Toy Story 5. So they're not going away from sequels. Those are their guaranteed. Yeah. There's some sequels where they can just print money, and those are the sequels they probably can do it with. So I don't know if they're going to pivot, but I think they got to realize less streaming, focus on the event cinema, and but they've already tried to replicate the double. Here we got August coming up. I think it's Paw Patrol and Meg 2. They're trying to come up with a Barbenheimer for that now. Like all these companies, because they're coming up the same day, Meg 2 and Paw Patrol. So they're like, wait a minute, this could be an event. Do a double feature. I don't think that's going to stick. Again, these were 2 very unique films that they put together. Go ahead.
Couple of last things, and I'll let you go here. I appreciate your time, and I appreciate the conversation. Of course, I could talk to you all day about this stuff. So the beauty of Barbenheimer for me was the fact that the films were so different, but I thought of both of high quality. I really enjoyed both of them a lot.
Absolutely.
We had a good Wade, my middle son Wade, just saw Barbie last night, and he was kind of torn between which one was better between Barbie and Oppenheimer. He loved them both.
Yeah.
And I think that was kind of fun, is they're so different, and yet both of a high quality. Film as a storyteller, film as a media type, I don't think is ever going to totally go away, but there was a fear that the industry was imperiled during COVID. With something like Barbenheimer, and you look forward with your crystal ball, obviously the business is going to keep evolving and changing, but are the theaters going to survive? Are we going to have cinema in 10 years the way that we know it now? What do you think?
It's scary. It's scary times because the strike is happening right
Yeah, we haven't
now,
talked
right?
about that. Yeah,
Right after the biggest of,
yeah.
success ever, that we're on strike, right? So hard for everybody to capitalize on this momentum because the stars can't even promote their films. So what are studios doing? They're pushing their films, their 2023 releases, they're pushing them to 2024 in hopes that by then the strike will be over. So that's not going to help in the short term. So to me that's a scary prospect because right now these theaters are just hanging on a line. They're hanging on a very
Right.
thin line. So so moving forward, I don't know. I think that people or kids are always going to want to go to horror films. I'm sure your students
Mm-hmm.
listen. That's the one dependable genre. Horror films.
Really,
Doesn't even matter if it's a good one.
really. Huh.
Just throw it in the theaters. Get the buzz going online. Show people, people in the audience going screaming. Works every single time,
Well,
and
my
people go to these horror movies and on date nights. And so, go ahead.
yeah, I think my kid Sam is going with his cousin Clay tomorrow to that one that you just talked about.
Talk to me, yeah, which is really fun. Yeah,
He was excited to go see that. You liked it?
really fun. I don't think anything's gonna be able to. I mean, there's just something visceral about being in the darkness and
Yes.
not knowing what's
Right.
coming next, and
Right.
then all of a sudden you like scream, and then somebody next to you's like had a reaction, and then you all of a sudden you're connecting to that other person, which is the beauty of obviously the theatrical experience, being with a group of people, experiencing it all together. The future, though, Andy. I mean, I'm not an idiot here. I mean, we have to be we have to be honest here. As your students, I'm sure know, TikTok has taken over. People are watching tons of anime. The phone obviously is a big issue, and people just wanting the big will the next generation of kids even care about movies at all? I talked to my students the other day, and we were talking about Tom Cruise, and I brought up Tom Cruise. There was like at least half, if not most of the class. Actually, nobody knew the name Tom Cruise. But when I showed a picture of Mission Impossible, the poster, then they're like, "Oh yeah, that guy," but they didn't know him. And so he's the biggest movie star in the world.
Well,
So
what was the
that
age level of how old were these
these
people?
were high school students,
They
so
didn't know who Tom
seniors.
Cruise was.
They didn't know him. So
That's
what I'm saying
interesting.
is this
That's
next
interesting.
generation that shows you how little star power has or means
Yeah.
to the younger generation. The Gen Zs, they don't care at all. We still, our generation, in our 40s, we still care about these movie stars. And back in the day, that's how the industry kept afloat. Anytime Brad Pitt or Tom Cruise or Leonardo DiCaprio made a movie, Julia Roberts, Reese Witherspoon, boom, automatic money, right? That has just faded completely away.
Well,
So
and then
that's another. Go ahead.
they would go and promote them on the Tonight Show, and nobody
Mm-hmm.
watches that anymore. So
Right.
the cult of personality, the celebrity industry is in a decline, I guess.
They're
Unless
going
you're
on
on
hot
YouTube,
ones now, Andy.
unless you're on YouTube or TikTok,
Mm-hmm.
maybe you could
You
do
got to
it
do
that
hot ones. You got to do the
right.
hip things that the kids will watch. Jimmy Fallon is dead. I mean, that whole industry is nobody cares about those interviews. So
I
going
don't care.
forward,
I don't care how much it would mean for my celebrity status. I would never do the hot ones.
yeah,
No, I'm not doing it. The only way I would
you
do
don't
it is
see
if they gave me the fake sauce. I do
right.
not want to be in pain. No, thank you.
Yes. So I'm scared. I would say I would still put this as a very dire situation because the younger generation does not care. I mean, is this just going to be like jazz? Is this going to be, well, I mean, a whole, industry that just collapses? It could happen. Because going forward, will it just be like a museum piece? The theater will just be like people who are like 80 and over still go and they kind of keep it afloat. But after our generation dies off, will it even be there? I don't know. Again, my hope is that at least the horror movies will keep it going. And but I can't say the prognosis is very good right now for
A
cinema.
lot of hot seats at these studios. That is a tough business for sure.
It's a really hard business.
Before I let you go, we're halfway through 2023. You watch a lot of
Yeah.
movies. Anything good this year that you could recommend that maybe my students haven't heard about?
They probably haven't heard about Beau is Afraid,
Beau is Afraid, right?
which is the Joaquin Phoenix film that is a very challenging movie. But if you're adventurous out there, it's Beau, I think Beau.
Beau is
Afraid.
Afraid.
That
Okay.
it's a scary film that is also really bizarre, and I guarantee you'll be talking about that one a long time afterwards. Talk to Me, as I just said, really really fun horror movie with some shocking gore. What else has been good? The Spider Verse was great, right?
Oh
We
yeah,
all
that
love
was pretty
that.
good.
As we spent on
The sequel
superhero
to that
movies,
one, the sequel to that one has been delayed indefinitely, right?
I don't know. Has it?
I think I heard that. Yeah.
That's frightening since they really left us on a big cliffhanger there.
Yeah, they did.
But the Spider Verse movie was excellent, and I know you weren't a big fan, but I enjoyed the Mission Impossible movie. What else? There has to be something else, but not a ton, I have to say, so far. As far as like artsy films, I mean, the other big thing that we haven't talked about is just movies for adults. Indie films. They're just not getting into theaters as much, and that's a sad thing. Again, I was talking about the art house theaters just vanishing. So people are just watching the television shows like Bear, which why wouldn't they, right?
Bear's fantastic. I will talk. Yeah. I hope to have you back out again to talk about TV.
Yeah,
Mario was really big. I thought that was fun.
Mario was a huge hit. Yes, that was another big,
yeah.
big, great point for the film industry so far this year.
I think Mario. It looks like Barbie might actually get it. It might actually pass Mario. It has a chance.
Yeah, that'd be amazing. And
Mario's at 1.3 billion.
Yeah, look forward to the Oscar time as well. I would say Barbie and Oppenheimer are the two front runners going into Best Picture.
Now, you told Sam that Dune had been moved back. Sam's trying to tell me that that's not official yet.
I don't know. It seems like the thing's getting pushed, but
don't push back Dune 2. Leave it alone.
What else do we look forward to in the fall, right?
I like Dune.
Dune 2. What's that?
I like Dune. Leave it alone.
Right. I don't know why they would want to push it aside from, I guess the stars wouldn't be able to promote it, but we'll see. We shall see.
Well, I appreciate it. I love talking films and books and movies and music with you, and I appreciate your time, dude. I will see you soon.
Okay.
Lucci's birthday's coming up.
Yeah. All right. See you.
See you, man.